Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everyone's having a good day. We've got round one of the Egman tournament from April 23rd. Red Yellow Sabo versus Black Blue Sakazuki. My opponent gets started off going first, trashing a Helmeppo, playing down Toshiki, searching top 5. Red Yellow Sabo is pretty favored into Sakazuki. We just like to be really aggressive and just kind of swing him down before he can even get to the late game if we get what we want. He takes an Amina Monakuno there. And we're going to go to 2 Dawn, and if I do recall correctly, we are pretty lucky here. We're going to be able to have the Garp in the opening hand, and I do believe we have another one, so we're going to get to dictate how we play here, just playing around what we have in our opening hand and grabbing what we need between the little guys and the big guys, that is Little Ace and Big Ace. How ST13 Sabo works here is our leader allows us, with 1 Dawn on him, to put cards that are both 3 cost and 7k power or more onto our life, and then buff something else in the field by 2k when we do so, as we see the second Garp come on down. And this second Garp is going to add us the 5-cost Luffy, which is just incredible in this matchup. Bypassing blockers, having rush, smashing face, it's all great. We pass to our opponent. Opponent's going to go up to 3 Dawn here. Now, if they wish, they could use their sword to remove those Garps, but they're not really posing too much of a threat. And our opponent is at 4 life, so they're probably just going to establish something. I see them trash a second Helmeppo. We got 2 Meppos in the trash, knowing that we're not going to need any cost minus on this Red Yellow Sabo, or maybe we have other cost minus in hand. Sabo Helmeppo is pretty good to set up in trash, but he already has one, so maybe it's just the best card from the trash right now. Playing down the Hina 4-3. Nothing really to minus here. Just getting it on the board makes sense. Bodies are important after all. We're going up to 4 Dawn here, and we are going to be able to Wombo combo, if I recall correctly, which is playing down a 2-drop Hiyori to replace our top life with one of our 5-drop bodies. I do believe in this case it's going to be Luffy, and we can use the power of the tiny version of that character to bring them out of our life and buff our leader. But we are going to see an unfortunate misplay here. We're going to swing 5 across the table with Sabo, and our opponent will counter 1 with a Sabo of their own. But unfortunately, as we're going to see, that was a misplay. So we're going to tap the 2 for the Hiyori, grabbing the bottom life. I've started grabbing the bottom life. It would probably feel very bad to grab a 0 cost, but every time I grabbed the top life, I just kept grabbing next turn's Kikunojo, and I gotta tell you, it felt terrible, so we didn't want to do that here. Especially if he's going to have something else to remove, so there's a chance our Kikunojo would actually stick in this situation. So we trash life, bring out Luffy, swing 6, and the little Luffy's effect, when he brings out the big Luffy, he also buffs our leader by 2k. So, you know, we could have swung 7. Unfortunate, but we are at least a 7k leader until the end of our opponent's next turn, so we're relatively safe from molestation until then, just because our opponent's going to want to continue to curve out, and barring a Hound Blaze, they will not really be strong enough to go into us. So we got to see how they're going to want to get rid of Luffy here. That absolutely will be happening. We have on the 5 Dawns, that's just going to be Hina and 2-drop removal. And let's see what that's going to be. It's going to be swords, so we're going to clear up Luffy and Grandpa here. A Grandpa, that is. We're still left with a Grandpa, and they're going to the bottom of the deck. Sorry about it. And that was a pretty quick turn for him. Can't swing it in because we're a beefy 7k leader. So over to us, and we are now on 8 Dawn. Oh no, we're on 6 Dawn. We are on 6 Dawn, pardon me. So 6 Dawn's pretty straightforward. Just going to untap our leader eventually. There we go. We're just going to put a Dawn on our leader most likely, and if we have Ace, that's going to be beautiful. It's going to be just a nice 6, clean 7 with Ace, and because Sakazuki is a very mean man who will take away your friends and is no stranger to punching a giant donut hole in Ace, we're going to make sure we keep him nice and safe and tucked in after his assault. But let's let that happen. So we're just contemplating here because I always take forever, just making sure it's the right move, making sure we're not missing any better moves in our hand, but there is no better move on 6 Dawn than this for Sabo, and our opponent is taking the 6, which means they are just very ricked up because they should know a 7 is coming. And in comes the 7. and our opponent unfortunately has to take. So this has not been the opening hand that Sakazuki probably wanted to see in this matchup, and we will be hiding our ace in life like a coward, because otherwise donut holes would be punched, and I believe we just motioned to buff our Garp for fun. So we pass the turn over. We have 6 cards in our hand. We're feeling pretty darn good considering that 7K swing we left on the table earlier. Like, that felt pretty game ending, to be honest. Usually does when you do a small misplay against Saka, but the overwhelming advantage of the matchup combined just with mainly with him continuing to brick so hard is making this feel a little better. So the problem with this 5K swing pressure he's putting on me is we have a face-up brick life, and it does give our opponent a little bit of it's not as good, right, as a face down life, because this 5K swing second is just as much pressure as the first 5K swing, just because we only added a 0K counter to our hand. And higher amounts of brick life aren't really that good for defense, because you can just get mathed out. And we see Borsalino coming down a bottom deck Garp. That tells us our opponent that either has so much counter that he just doesn't even care, or he just has no defense to play at all, and that's just what he can do. Get a Garp off the board and hope I don't have rush. Now on 8 Dawn, we can kind of pop off quite a bit here, and our opponent did give us the rush ace back, so we're kind of just going to use it and see how many cards our opponent has in their hand with counter, because they have not played a blocker yet. Only blocker we've seen from them went to the discard pile in the 5-drop Sabo, but we do understand why they got rid of it. They needed to play. Would have been a good turn last turn, honestly, for 5-drop Sabo instead of Borsalino. That would have probably felt better, for sure, in my opinion. But that's why Sakazuki is just so difficult. Any trash, like an earlier turn, can just come back and hurt you. So we're just going to slam the ace down here, because an ace will go face for 7. Our opponent will take. Unfortunately, just entirely bricked up. Just absurdly bricked up. Obscenely bricked up. And then we're going to do everything in the proper order this time. Leader skill to heal the 7K ace. Nothing really to buff. And then we'll play down the little ace, trashing the little ace, and summoning ace out of our life, buffing our leader so that we have a 7K leader. And we go 7K into face, and our opponent has to give us 3 1Ks, unfortunately. And then 8K to face seals the game, as our opponent only has Houndblaze, Ama, Stage, and a Raw Belucci. A bunch of removal when we didn't really leave anything on the board to remove except for a Luffy. Sometimes that's how it goes. This matchup can either end quick, or it can end in 35 minutes with a Sakazuki victory. And this has been Cardy Board of the Cardboard Pirates signing out. Everyone have a good one, and we'll see you back here for round 2.